This is how childhood trauma begins. Not with screaming, not with violence, not even with tears. It begins with a child learning that safety is temporary, with a 6-year-old lying awake at 3 a.m. listening for footsteps, with a little brain that says, if I stay perfectly still, maybe tonight won't be the night. His name is David. He's 34 now, owns his own company, has 2 beautiful daughters, but every single night, he still checks the locks 3 times, and every single morning, he apologizes to his wife for being weird. He has no idea that what he calls weird is actually the invisible armor that kept him alive when he was 7 years old. Today, I'm going to show you the 8 signs that reveal whether someone grew up in survival mode and what happens when they finally realize it. Sign 1. You flinch at things that haven't even happened. Watch 7-year-old David. He's doing homework, but his ears are focused on something else entirely. The specific way his father's key sounds in the door. The pause between when the car engine stops and the car door slams. The rhythm of footsteps on the stairs. David's head snaps up. That's him. Before his father even steps into the house, David's body is already preparing for impact. He closes his books, smooths his hair, practices his good son smile. Now fast forward 27 years, David is presenting to his company's board of directors. Everything is going perfectly. His heart rate spikes. Not because he's nervous about the presentation. His nervous system is responding to a 27-year-old old alarm system that never learned how to turn off. That's hypervigilance, a survival skill that became a prison. Sign 2, you forgive too fast and too often. David learned emotional cleanup at age 9. His mother would come to him crying after his father left for work trips that lasted days. He promised this time would be different, she'd sob. Little David would hold her, tell her everything would be okay, make her tea, tell her jokes until she smiled. He became the family therapist when he should have been learning to ride a bike. Adult David, his wife looking upset after phone call. Now, when David's wife Sarah gets upset after talking to her sister, David immediately jumps into repair mode. What did I do? I'm sorry, tell me what I can fix. Sarah looks confused. You didn't do anything, David. But David's brain can't process not being responsible for other people's feelings. His worth was always measured by how well he could manage everyone else's emotions. That wasn't kindness. That was trauma. Sign 3. You prepare for conflict before it happens. At 7 years old, David learned that preparation is the difference between being caught off guard and being ready to duck. Every time he hears footsteps on the stairs, his body does a lightning-quick scan. What could be wrong? What did I forget? How do I make this go away before it starts? Adult David in his office, receiving email notification. Now, David gets a "we need to talk" email from his boss. His mind immediately spirals. Did I miss a deadline? Is the client unhappy? Am I about to be fired? By the time he walks into the meeting, he's already defended himself in his head 3 times, apologized twice in his mind, and planned 3 different escape strategies. His boss just wanted to tell him about a promotion. David's nervous system learned to prepare for war in a world that usually offers peace. That's hypervigilance disguised as responsibility. Sign 4. You're the peacemaker in every room. David became the family referee at age 10. When mom and dad started fighting, David would jump between them, make jokes, redirect the conversation, change the subject, anything to stop the chaos and make everyone calm down. He learned that his job wasn't to be a kid. His job was to keep the peace. Adult David at a family dinner, tensions rising between siblings. Now, at his sister's birthday dinner, when his brother starts arguing about politics, David automatically shifts into mediator mode. He reads the room, senses the rising tension, steps in with a joke or a subject change. Everyone relaxes. They don't even realize David just prevented another family fight. But here's what David doesn't realize. He's exhausted. He's been performing emotional labor for 24 years, and he's only 34. His worth became tied to how well he could manage other people's feelings. That wasn't leadership, that was trauma. Sign 5. You struggle with love that feels safe. Young David, shrinking away from angry father, adult. David, uncomfortable with loving hug from wife. Here's the heart of it. When love feels dangerous, you learn to love from a distance. Young David learned that hugs came with conditions. Kisses came with price tags. I love you came with strings attached. So he became the perfect child, the invisible child, the child who never asked for anything. Sarah, I love you, but can we just... Not right now. She pulls away, hurt. Did I do something wrong? No, Sarah, nothing you did. But David learned that safety felt dangerous because chaos was his normal. Love felt risky because love had been weaponized against him. His heart learned to associate closeness with pain, so he keeps everyone just far enough away to survive and just close enough to feel human. Sign 6. You perfectionist. Everything to avoid criticism. David learned early, mistakes don't just disappoint people. Mistakes make people leave. So he became perfect. Not because he wanted to be, but because good enough felt dangerous. Every report had to be flawless. Every presentation had to be flawless. Every conversation had to be flawlessly managed. Adult David working late, reviewing the same email for the 10th time. David sends 47 emails to perfect one sentence. He prepares for meetings like he's defending a doctoral thesis. He triple checks everything because the alternative, being less than perfect, means being worthless. His team thinks he's a perfectionist. His wife thinks he's thorough. His boss thinks he's dedicated. But David's brain learned that perfect was the price of love, that good enough meant abandonment, that trying his best meant not trying hard enough. He didn't develop high standards. He developed a fear-based performance system that exhausts him daily. Sign 7. You trust people quickly, but never completely. Here's the paradox David learned. When your primary caregiver is unpredictable, you become both desperate for connection and terrified of being hurt. David would believe every apology, every promise, every "I'll change," not because he was naive, but because his survival depended on hope. Adult David on a date with Sarah, struggling with vulnerability. David falls in love quickly. He trusts deeply. He gives his heart completely. But there's always that part of him, watching, waiting, preparing for the moment when they'll realize he's too much or not enough. When Sarah says, "I love you," David's heart sings. And his mind immediately starts calculating exit strategies. He trusts people fast because he learned to find safety quickly or lose it completely. But he never trusts completely because his nervous system learned that love is conditional and temporary. He's not commitment phobic. He's trauma educated. Sign 8. You feel like you're not enough, even when you are. I know I'm successful, David tells his therapist. My business is thriving. I'm a good father. Sarah says I'm a great husband, but I feel like I'm pretending to be a real person. His therapist leans forward. David, what if I told you that the voice telling you you're not enough isn't even your voice? David breaks. For the first time in 28 years, he realizes that critic in his head, that's his father's voice. That fear of being found out, that's his survival mechanism speaking. That voice that says he's broken, that was never his truth. He wasn't broken. He was brilliant at adapting to impossible circumstances. But the adaptations that saved his life were slowly killing his soul. Here's what David learned in therapy. His hypervigilance, that's actually an incredible superpower for reading people in situations. In business, he can sense what's really going on in meetings before anyone else does. His people-pleasing, that's emotional intelligence. He can walk into any room and understand the emotional temperature instantly. His perfectionism? That's attention to detail that built him a successful company. His need to peacekeep? That's leadership. People naturally follow him because they feel safe around him. His difficulty trusting completely? That's wisdom. He's learned to protect his heart while still opening it. The same traits that wounded him became his superpowers, but only when he stopped seeing them as proof of his brokenness. David still checks the locks, but now he knows why. He still says sorry too much, but now he catches himself. He still questions if he's enough, but now he has evidence to the contrary. He didn't become someone new. He finally became who he always was underneath the trauma. If David felt familiar, you're not alone. Millions of people are walking around with childhood trauma they don't even recognize. They're succeeding, appearing fine, but inside feeling like frauds in their own lives. That's why I created this next video, The Hidden Signs of Emotional Neglect and Why They Destroy Your Relationships. It breaks down exactly what emotional neglect looks like in adults, why it destroys intimacy, and what to do about it if you recognize yourself in this video. Because healing doesn't start with fixing what's wrong with you. It starts with understanding why you developed these survival strategies in the first place. Hit subscribe and the bell. Your inner child is waiting to finally be heard. And remember, you weren't broken. You were surviving. There's a difference, and it's everything.